Have you seen potato towers before? They're supposed to be easy to use, easy to maintain, highly productive, and easy to harvest. Is that true?
Hi, I'm Ben.
I'm Sam.
I'm Christy. I'm Kenny.
And I'm Jonathan, and we are the Provident Preppers. Last spring, we decided we were going to try potato towers.
We've grown potatoes in the ground before and it's been successful, but harvesting them is backbreaking. We've also found that containers work really well, but they have their own set of challenges.
In this video, we're going to talk about how we built and grew our potato towers. Also, we're going to take you along with the progress that was made during the growing season.
Best of all, you're invited along for the ride.
What are you doing?
I thought we were doing guns.
With all the hype on the internet about potato towers, we decided we were going to try it this year, see if we could save ourselves some work.
We have grown potatoes for many years and tried a variety of different methods. Some have worked well and some haven't. One of our favorite ways to grow potatoes is in containers because it is less labor, it saves space. I'm not sure if it really increases the yield. Some argue that it does. But the ease of harvest, as long as you're strong enough to flip that bucket over, it's easy to harvest those potatoes. We're going to take you on a trip down memory lane to our potato harvest about 10 years ago.
This is fun.
Smell our dinner coming.
There we go. Oh, what can you find in there?
Where?
Earwig? Yep, they'll be in there. Oh, look at the potatoes.
Oh my gosh!
Whoa, that one's pretty.
Oh, look at that one, a nice big baker.
Whoa. Whoa, Ben, let me see. Wow, that's huge.
We're gonna get a ton of potatoes from this baby.
You think?
Except that it's not a baby, it's a grown-up. Push me, Dad. It's a 20-year-old. It's a 90-year-old. Yeah, well. Potatoes! Potato! Off my foot, then. Oh, potato. Potato! Oh yeah, good job, Ben. Mini.
Oh, look, lots of little potatoes. Lots of little. Oh.
There's lots of bright red potatoes.
What great memories those are. We like to work together and play together as a family. This was no exception. So if that worked so well, why did we want to do potato towers? The hype is that there would be less labor, it would save space, it would increase the yield, and the harvest would be really easy.
So off we went on our potato tower adventure. It's important to understand what potatoes really need to grow. They need full sun, which means at least 6 hours a day, but they also need moist, well-drained, kind of loamy soil. Well-rotted manure and compost are ideal soils for potatoes to be grown in. One of the things that I didn't realize is that potatoes prefer cool soil, which helps them to set more tubers. The potato towers in our climate meant that the soil was much warmer than it would have been if the potatoes were underground. The best time to plant potatoes is after the last spring frost, when the soil temperature is around 50 degrees and the soil is dry enough to be worked so that the potatoes don't rot. We decided to use 2 different varieties of potatoes in our potato towers. The first were potatoes that were left over from the previous season, and you can see that they had done a good job of sprouting, so we cut them up for planting. And then we also used certified red seed potatoes. Jonathan built these wire cages out of scrap fencing material that we had, and you'll notice that not all of our potato towers match because we're just using scrap fencing. We lined the inside of the tower with straw to keep the compost from falling out. And planting actually turned out to be quite labor intensive. Filling the towers with the compost and the rotted manure took a lot of muscle and hard work. We planted potatoes every 8 inches all the way up the sides of the tower. The intent was that the potatoes would grow through the straw and take advantage of the soil all the way up to set tubers.
On the top layer, we covered the entire area with the seed potato. We were excited to see the potato plants emerging out of the towers. We were disappointed with the relatively few plants that started emerging out of the sides. Here are the finished spring potato towers. Some of those are ahead of the others because we acquired the seed potato later and we built more towers.
It was so much fun to watch the potato towers flourish and turn green over the season, and we looked forward to the harvest with incredible anticipation.
Okay guys, come on, let's open it up, see what's in there.
Hopefully I'm not quite as cringe as I was last time.
10 years ago.
10 years cool.
You are adorable.
As it turns out, it was more difficult to uncage these than we thought. We'd built these with hooks so that we thought they would come apart easily, but it was actually a pretty tough job to take those cages off.
It used to be like the flying
Just leg kicks, just...
And of course, the kids always have to turn this into some kind of a fun circus.
Can I just plant the
Gator.
plant? Potato!
Wow.
All right.
Send it, Jerry!
That didn't work.
Once the cages were off, it was a lot of work to dig through and to harvest those potatoes.
That plant has several on it.
I can do it!
Wow.
And we got a little bit more creative about how we were uncaging the towers. It's a good thing we have Buff family to do that.
Did you wear gloves for this project?
Yeah.
The cages using the thinner wire didn't work out so well as far as trying to lift them, so we had to just unwire those.
And as you can see, some of the towers did better than others and exposed some very beautiful potatoes. The majority of the towers had potatoes that were small or developed inappropriately.
When we show you the harvest, you'll see what we mean.
Full shifts, then I would have not have
Potato! What did you call it?
Potato.
Potato.
Okay, Ben. Sam, you got
Oh, where'd you go? Potato! Answer me!
bucket.
The poor... Is that a rock or a potato? I think it's a rock.
One of the interesting things that we found in the potato towers were some of the seed potatoes that were just petrified. They had the eyes that were sprouting on them, and then they just didn't do anything. It was like a petrified piece of wood. You would think that they would rot if there was enough moisture and warmth that they would rot, but some of these just didn't.
Just little hard rocks.
We watered these well. Each cage was watered for about 30 minutes twice a week.
Here's what remained after we got done taking all the towers apart. All of this will be composted for next year's use, but it's going to be a lot of work. Here's a look at the total amount of potatoes we harvested, which is really pretty dismal considering all the towers that we had put up. If we had to subsist on these through the winter, we'd be in trouble. We were hoping for a much more abundant harvest.
And when you look at this, all of our hopes were dashed. So the planting was very labor intensive. The harvest was more labor intensive than we thought. There was a poor yield. We got almost the same amount of seed potatoes that we had used, and the quality of the potatoes was poor, especially when you compare that to this volunteer harvest. This was a harvest from 2019 from some volunteer potato plants from a previous year. We didn't do anything for these potatoes. They were just in the garden and we let them go ahead and grow. The potatoes are huge, they're beautiful and healthy looking, and it just makes me wonder if the artificial environment that we tried to create, we fought so hard against nature that we blew it.
And nature won.
And nature won. We have a friend who has this very unique take on all this. When he harvests his potatoes in the fall, he just replants all of the small potatoes back into the same spot because they're harder to peel, right? They're more of a pain to work with. And then he mulches them over the winter. And then in the spring, they start to grow and he nurtures them and then he harvests them again in the fall. and he gets a really good yield. We're going to try Mark's method, and we are just going to replant these potatoes and let Mother Nature have her way and see what happens next fall when we harvest them.
This is really all about self-reliance, about your ability to take care of yourself in spite of whatever's happening in the world. We have some really great videos that can help you in that process. This spring, we did what we called a Prepper Homestead Tour. And this shows you some of the things that we did to help us be more self-reliant.
And there's another video, Prepper Survival Garden, where we go through what we feel are the best crops to grow for a Prepper Survival Garden, some of the things that you would need to know if you have to depend on the food that you can grow. This is the video that you need to get started with.
Also, Victory Garden Secrets. This is our friend Tom Bartels. He uses bio-intensive gardening methods that produce amazing results. We have incorporated a lot of his ideas into our garden, and we are finding great success with them.
And the thing I like about the bio-intensive methods is that it really is less work for a higher yield. And the final video is Indoor Survival Garden. I am having so much fun growing things indoors. Right now, our world has shut down because we've had our hard freeze, and there's very little that we can grow outside. And yet we are eating every day off of the food that I can grow in just a very small area inside my home.
Check them out.
We just finished our potato harvest, and quite frankly, it was pretty disappointing. And thanks for being part of the solution.
That concludes our potato show on YouTube. Thanks for watching.